You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
All right, guys. Well, Ed, thank you for joining us on the Scottish Football Zone. There's only one place where we can start, and that's got to be Rangers and St Mirren. Thank you for joining me, Ethan.
Yeah, definitely the one place we can start in Paisley. Another disappointing day for Rangers, and you could only say you could see it coming based off the performance in midweek and the recent performances. I think a lot of Rangers fans were nervous for this game, and rightfully so. St Mirren were confident for it. They had a lot of belief from their win over Hearts and their performances in the games that they didn't get, obviously, the desired result before that. But yeah, and I think a draw was probably a deserved result in the end, but more drop points for Rangers. And now Russel Martin, the worst start to any permanent Rangers manager after 9 games with only 3 wins.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think he's going to work. That's the pure and simple of it. I really don't. I would love him to work and say Rangers fans coming on here and saying it's going to work. I just don't see it working at all. I just think especially his post-match thoughts, which I'll let you take over in a minute, Ethan. But I just felt overall Rangers were kind of lackluster.
Yeah, it's same old, really. And he touched on that in the post match sort of interview with Sky Sports. He said they need to stop giving teams a sort of lead at the start of the game or starting the games poorly, and that's exactly what they did again. Invited St Mirren into the game. St Mirren obviously got a really good goal with Jonah Ayunga. Mikel Mandron plays a really nice ball after, I can't remember who it was at the defence that sort of played it into him, but and it was Emmanuel Fernandez who just wasn't tight enough to him, let him run through, and it's a really good finish past Butland, take nothing away from Ayunga, but just poor defending from Rangers, and they just started the game poorly again, and it was always going to be a difficult task going to St Mirren Park and winning, but going behind after half an hour would have made it even more difficult, and they were probably quite lucky to get that equaliser in the end, although they were probably knocking on the door, in all fairness.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Rangers, I wouldn't say there was a big standout player, but obviously St Mirren got off to the perfect start.
Yeah, exactly that, and I think Rangers would have been going into this game knowing that how St Mirren play under Stephen Robinson, and they're going to get up in Rangers' faces and not make it easy for them, and that's exactly what they did. They get their goal, and Rangers didn't really, in the first half there wasn't really much chances. You would have to say St Mirren had the best of them, but Rangers did have a few chances. Taylor Osgaard had a massive chance from a couple yards out that he tried to poke past Jamal George, and it looked like it was going over him, and he clawed back and made quite a ridiculous save, possibly save of the weekend, although there was another one in another game that we'll probably get onto. But yeah, a ridiculous save at that point in the game to keep St Mirren ahead, and yeah, they just kind of made it really difficult for Rangers, and Rangers didn't create. I'm trying to think if they had any other big chances in the first half. Leo Cameron had a chance that he probably should have done better. He blazed over the bar, but apart from that, in the first half there really wasn't much. Then Rangers sort of huffed and puffed in the second half. They looked more likely than St Mirren, you'd have to say, in that second half, especially towards the end. Russell Martin made loads of changes, especially in attacking areas. He obviously made 2 at half-time, taking off Jayden Ngoma, the young left-back who made his second appearance after starting the other night. And I did say on this show that I thought he was one of the better players the other night for being chucked in at the deep end. A player who was also chucked in at the deep end in a previous game, but was poor during the week and was poor again today. Oliver Antman hooked at half-time as well for Mikey Moore and Danilo coming on for those two. Then Taylor Osgaard and Max Aarons come off later on. And he was just trying to get as many attacking players on the pitch as possible to create something to get that equaliser. And obviously, it's his final substitution with 15 minutes to go, young Finlay Curtis, who comes on and was probably Rangers' best player. And the time that he was on, there was a stat that they showed on Sky at one point that he had 2 shots on target, which was more than the rest of the Rangers squad. He obviously gets the goal. It's a nice finish. I think it deflects in off Mikael Freckleton, I think it is, the St Mirren defender. It kind of clips off and helps it past Jamal George. And then he had a strike right after that and really got the Rangers fans behind that goal up and excited and thinking that their team could maybe push on for a winner. And they had chances, but I don't think it would have been fair on St Mirren if Rangers had won that game. I think a draw was a fair result, but 3-1 each draws in the bounce just isn't good enough for Rangers, and 3 wins in 9 in any Rangers tenure is just not good enough. And especially when Russel Martin comes in with pressure from the support, because it wasn't everyone's first choice, as we already know, so he already starts with that disadvantage. And they just haven't even had a sort of new manager bounce either. That just kind of the same doom and gloom that Rangers were for large parts of last season.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear me out, but I'm actually starting to think even that possibly Rangers have made a big mistake and they should have just given the job to Barry Ferguson and Billy Dodds. Honestly, because I've heard Billy Dodds on the radio for a few weeks now, and he spoke about bringing in Scottish players and about knowing the players really well and who would fit and who would not. I just feel like Martin's kind of doing the same thing that Clement did. He's being too easy on the big players in the squad, like Tavernier, like Joe Rothwell, who was really bad today. Who all the time he stands by these players, even players like Jigger, who he brought in, and even Fernandez. These players don't look up to scratch, and I'm sure I'm not going to say that Barry Ferguson would have found a better replacement, but I think surely he would have found better recruitment than what Russell Martin's done in League One in England and Championship as well. I think Chris Sutton and Chris Boyd made the same point that I did. I just feel like these are the sort of same players that Rangers have been bringing in for years. The players that have been released by like, Championship clubs in England who are not wanted, and they're not any great players. Look at Ant-Man. I mean, that guy, he better have been a movie star, Ant-Man, like after the first game, everybody was saying, "Oh, he's looking really well, right?" But you need to remember the Rangers are playing Pilsen, who um, who are not great, and also that is a team that was going to open up against Rangers. So he had all that space. I think in the Scottish League, a lot of these teams are making sure they stay strong and stay compact and stuff like that. And I just don't think Ant-Man. I think the only one I can see right now is the boy from Sheffield Wednesday. I think he looks. Yeah, he looks the only one where I go. He would be the only player right now that I would take at Celtic. The only player.
I think he's the only one, I would say, along with John Souttar and possibly Jack Butland, that have done themselves justice so far throughout the course of the season. I think all of the other players have had sort of hit and misses performance-wise, and today you've seen he makes 3 changes. Obviously, Nasser Djiga, he's forced out the starting 11 because of that suspension. So Emmanuel Fernandez, who he hasn't given much minutes to, comes in. You could say he's at fault for the goal. Then the other change is he brings in, he drops Mohamed Diamandi out and brings in back in Lyle Cameron. Then up front, he takes off Danilo, who scored the other night, for Taylor Osgard, who's not a striker, so he's not really started with a striker in the game, and Taylor Osgard just never really looked up to it, and you can understand that because he's not a striker. He's been played at a position, and yeah, just there's so many problems with that Rangers team. And you look at the signings, as you said, the only one that's really sort of convinced the Rangers fans would have to be Josedi Kasama, and he's been one of Rangers' best players. So that's why he's playing every minute at the moment, because Russell Martin can't afford to take him off because he's been their best player. He was their best player by far the other night against Club Brugge. He was unlucky not to get that goal, although it should have been disallowed. But yeah, really concerning for Russell Martin because, as I've mentioned, a lot of the fans didn't. He wasn't their first pick, so when it starts going not very well, then the pressure's just on him already. And to 3 wins from 9 games just isn't good enough. And to start the league season with 3 draws and very winnable fixtures is just not good enough either. And heads will roll at Ibrox because the fans won't put up with it for much longer. And I don't think we're seeing an idea. We're not seeing progress. We're not seeing anything. And that's the thing. If you could see progress, a clear style, a clear starting 11, but I don't think Russel Martin knows his best starting 11. He doesn't know what players he can trust. He's always chopping and changing the starting 11. He consistently wants to play Max Aarons despite not performing well, and James Tavernier, from what I've seen, performing better when he's come off the bench. The signings he's brought in haven't done enough. He's not got a striker that he feels trusted to start. Obviously, Cyril Dessers maybe, if he's fit. And we'll get on to the Hamza Egerman situation. But that's just another problem that Rangers really don't need at the moment. And it's really not going well for Russel Martin at the moment. And he's not going to get a lot of time because although he won't be favourite going to Bruges on Wednesday night, he needs to have a positive performance if they can't get through. And of course, they're not favourites to go through it, especially now after the first leg. And then he needs to get a big result on Sunday because if Rangers turn up, they're definitely capable of beating Celtic at home. There is no question about that, but they haven't turned up for 8 out of 9 games this season, so there's no reason why they're going to turn up. But yeah, I think it's a massive game for Rangers. It always is, but this is the biggest game of the season so far, I think, on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. And from watching the last 3 matches of Rangers, I know people in the comments are completely enjoying the show. I just feel like Russell Martin, to me, I don't think he's a Rangers manager. Just look at some of the things he says. I think he opens up too much to the press. I think the other day he's talking about his hair. He's talking about today about Agnemani not wanting to play. I just think he opens himself up too much for the press to make big talking points. And I think sometimes he's too honest. He reminds me a little bit of Mikel Arteta when he gets beat. Mikel Arteta opens up too much and tells you too much, and he gets angry too much. And I think there's only so much as players that you can take, because every time that you take onto that football pitch and your manager like feels the pressure and obviously warns at them over and over again, there's only going to be one thing, Ethan, and that's the players switching off.
Yeah, the players will they'll turn. I think that's definitely a possibility. We've seen it in the past that this Rangers teams, or not this Rangers team specifically, but Rangers as a club, of the mentality's been questioned for years now, and he keeps coming out. And I think today wasn't too bad. I think he sort of pointed the finger at individuals more than the team as a whole, and that.
I would even go back to Friday, even when he mentioned about the mentality for many years. I think I think of the maybe the Rangers PR guy who's talking to him before the press conference and saying, I don't think you should be mentioning about that this club struggled for many years. The fans don't want to hear about it. The fans want success now. See, when Rangers fans were told about the American owners, Rangers fans thought they were onto this new promised land and they were going to get so much money and things were going to be changing, but it doesn't seem to be like that, Ethan.
Yeah, but I think fans also like transparency, and I think he's trying to go from the angle of sort of resonating with the support and saying, I know it's been tough here for years now, but I'm here to change that. But they're not seeing any signs of that. That's the problem, that on the pitch he's doing the talking in the press conferences, but we're not seeing anything on the pitch to suggest that Rangers are making any progress at all, and that's the worrying thing. Because there is no sign of progress. There's no sign to say that Rangers are going to go out and play well on Wednesday or go and play well on Sunday, and that's what the fans want. They want to see progress, and until they see progress, he'll be under massive pressure, and a lot of the support will want him to be relieved of his duties. And as I said, I've touched on many times, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. The 49ers consortium and have decided to go with him. That's for a reason. They back him. They've put a lot of money to support that squad. So I don't think they're going to get rid of him after less than 10 games. But he needs to start getting results. He needs to start winning games domestically. It's the bread and butter. You can't start the league season with three games without winning. And you look across the city, Celtic, massive problems going on there off the pitch. And on the pitch, certainly on Wednesday night. But they've still won 3 games pretty easily in the league, and they're now, 6 points ahead of Rangers already? Could be 9 come Sunday. It's just not a gap that Russel Martin can afford to open up, and the league could be over by Sunday, and that's just not over, but it'd be a long, long way back for Rangers if it went to 9 points. And
if Celtic go 9 points here, then I think it would be a long shot for Rangers to get it back, because if you look at Celtic are going to bring players in. Even they're looking at, we'll talk later, they're looking at bringing Michael Balashava over from Royal Antwerp. They're also looking at another wide player, and they're looking at a striker. So I just feel like Celtic will get stronger from that. So I do agree that if Celtic go 9 points clear at this early stage of the season, I think it could be a long way back for Russel Martin.
Yeah, because this is the time you want to play against Celtic. For Rangers, this is the time where they're at their weakest, the squad's at their weakest, they've got injury problems, they've not replaced players in certain areas. If Rangers lose on Sunday, then Celtic are only going to get stronger. And I'm not saying Rangers won't get stronger, but 9 points is a lot for Celtic to drop in a season. They usually don't drop much more than that across the course of a season. And that's saying that Rangers have to pretty much not misplace any steps. And unless Rangers can beat Celtic 3 times and pick up the same amount of points and the other time in the league since then there will be no way back. And it's just too much. So he needs to stop the bleeding. And I think he's come out and said in previous press conferences that it's going to be a painful period and Rangers are going to need to deal with pain. But there's only so much pain those fans can take, and they need to see progress. And yeah, I think some of he's just touching on his press conference a bit more. I think some of the things he said were really interesting. He thanked the fans that travelled to Paisley today, and he understands the frustration. But the priority at the moment of him is sort of getting his message and his style of play across to the players, which I think you can see he obviously hasn't done yet fully. He also, the big point of the press conference or the interview was that he said, Hamza Gaman, we received a bid midweek, and he refused to come on after Russell Martin telling him, that he was injured. And you heard on the sort of commentary, Neil McCann was saying that Hamza Gaman was warming up or looked to be warming up, because he wasn't really warming up, is what Neil McCann said, and I don't think we've seen that. But yeah, and this was the really telling sign for me. This is a direct quote of what Russell Martin said. I don't know what the Hamza situation will be after today. I don't know what the Cyril situation is. So he was working hard to get back fit, so there's a difference there. So he's pretty much saying that Cyril Dessers is showing the right attitude to get himself back fit for that Rangers team. And you would only have to imagine that he's trying to point the finger at that Hamza Gaman isn't. And he said Cyril's been really honest about all of that when talking about Cyril Dessers also being the other player to receive a bid from another club this summer. So yeah, I think Hamza Gaman's sort of time at Rangers is finished. And Chris Boyd said as much. He said, drive him to the airport, see you later. And I mean, you can't really argue with that. I think Hamza Gaman's time at Rangers is gone, and I think he will be sold.
Yeah, and we have news on a possible replacement. Rangers are looking at Bojan Miovski of Girona.
Yeah, I think that would be a good signing for Rangers on loan. He's obviously had a really difficult time there since leaving Aberdeen, but he's proven in the past he's a top quality player in the Scottish Premiership and can score a load of goals. And yeah, I think he would be a good signing on loan. I think it is. So yeah, I think that's a good signing for Rangers. And yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments. Yeah, I think I agree with what Graham said. I think you could look at it as, well, yeah, he has thrown him under the bus because maybe Hamza Egeman does genuinely have an injury. You know what? I very much doubt it, but the bridges are burnt there. There's no way Hamza Egeman will ever play for Rangers again, I don't think. And there's no way the
No,
fans will accept him to play again if that's the sort of picture that Russell Martin's painting of him. And the players that came out to do the post-match interview was Joe Rothwell and Finlay Curtis, who obviously got the goal. One thing, maybe I'm looking into this too much, tell me if I am, but Joe Rothwell said a couple of times, hopefully the results will start going our way. That's not what you would want to hear from a player. I think hopefully the results will go away. It's not, the results haven't went against Rangers by luck. They went away against Rangers because Rangers haven't been good enough. Now, as a player, you've got to say to the fans, we are going to change this. Not hopefully the results are going to go away. Would you agree? Do you think you would agree with that?
yeah, because I just found it strange, and I think he's someone that's not been at it since the start of the season. He came up here with a big reputation. I remember Joey Barton, Joey Garner, Martin Waghorn, people like that all coming up with big reputations, and they really struggled. And I think he's another one because I just feel like when you look at what Rangers are going into next week, that Ibrox Stadium could really be toxic next week. It
Yeah,
really could be.
definitely agree with you. And one player that I think should start for Rangers on Wednesday, and if he has a good enough performance, then should maybe start that game on Sunday is Finlay Curtis, because I think he's shown when he's had the chance off the bench that he brings energy to Rangers, and he showed that today. He didn't get the chance to come off the bench on Wednesday night, and I think he touched on that in the interview. But one thing I seen from him was that, and a lot of sort of what Dodds and McCann have said, that the guy has an absolutely excellent attitude at Rangers, and he'll make it far because his work ethic for the club is second to none. And I think something that I seen, I don't know if you've seen it, but the other night at Ibrox, after the 3-1 loss to Club Brugge, which he didn't go on the pitch for, he made time for some young Rangers fans after the game, and I seen a video of him giving his boots to a young fan, and that's
Yeah,
the sort of stuff that just sort of shows the atmosphere, because not the atmosphere, sorry, the attitude of the player, because it would be easy for him to sort of throw the toys at the pram. Tough night in Europe, he doesn't go off the bench, but he's still there to make time for fans. Of course, he is a fan, and you see that when he plays, that he has that sort of extra passion playing for Rangers. And I know it's not all about passion, it's about quality, but he's shown more quality in the final 15 minutes than what some of the other Rangers players did. So if I was the Rangers manager, Russell Martin, looking at that, I would start him on Wednesday night on the wing along with Dusedi Gassama, and then up front, I would probably start Danilo. I don't think the Taylor Osgard experiment worked, and obviously if Cyril Dessers is fit, then he starts up top.
I just want to bring in the the Corgi Boys podcast. They've put a thing in here, Ethan, and they've saying that the fact that Russell Martin threw one player under the bus, and I think Graham makes a good point in terms of that's not going to go down well in the dressing room, because I just feel like, especially now with the transfer market going on, I think some Rangers players will be trying to make moves out the door, because I'm going to make an early prediction, but I don't think after the first three games the Rangers fans will be too confident that it will be title number 56 this season.
No, they definitely won't be. And yeah, I think some of the players possibly will look for moves. I think Hamza Agaman, I think Russell Martin's kind of shown his hand possibly in the way that maybe Hamza Agaman is trying to force a move out of Ibrox, and after
Or
hearing,
maybe he's trying to get those players out of the club. Maybe that's why he's saying that today, to say to the board, look, that that's a guy that doesn't want to be here. So he's sending a message to other clubs, look, that that's a guy that you can buy. But also, it's not a good sign as well that these clubs are trying to buy a player that's not very happy. You know?
it doesn't improve his value, does it? It doesn't get probably the most money Rangers could get for him if he's not played many minutes, and the Rangers managers come out and sort of question his attitude. And yeah, I think it's one that it's not ideal for Rangers, because they could have been looking at big money for Hamza Agaman, and they still might get big money, but yeah, I think it's a bit of a sour end. But if the player's attitude isn't in the right place and he's trying to force a move, then there's not really much Rangers can do but sell him. And I think a lot of people have questioned, why is he not starting games? Why is he not coming off the bench as much? Why is he not playing this amount of minutes? And that's probably the reason why. His attitude maybe in training isn't right, and he's not giving what Russell Martin is looking for from his players, and that's quite right. If Russell Martin wants to sell him, then he's going to make that clear, because that would free up a lot of funds to support the rest of the Rangers squad when he's not a main part of the squad at the moment.
Yeah, the next one we've got coming in here, it says, is he sacked yet? So I'm going to say this to you, right? I'm going to say that Celtic go to Ibrox next week and they win by 3-1, right? Do you believe that after this match that there's a possibility that Russell Martin could be sacked?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I think we're quite far away from Russell Martin getting sacked. I think the nerve of the 49ers consortium will be tested, because there'll be a lot of pressure from the Rangers support, but they've shown in the past they block out that noise and they do what they believe's best, and they believe Russell Martin's the right idea. They'll see it as a sort of, well, this club hasn't had success domestically consistently for a while, so we are not too opposed to sort of going without it again this season if we can see progress. Obviously, the Rangers fans aren't happy with that. They don't accept that. They want to win the league title every season. But the owners will think, looking at it the long run, we know what Russell Martin's capable of. There's a reason why we brought him in. We're going to stick with him. And yes, of course, it hasn't started as well as it could have done, but yeah, I think there's still a lot of backing behind Russell Martin from
Another question
upstairs.
Another question that I've got for you, right? It's in terms of like the two boys that Rangers have brought in for Everton to lead their players being brought in, Fairwell and I think it's Jones from Everton, right? See, these two guys, surely they have to take a lot of the blame as well, because Russell Martin did say that when he first came in, that these two guys would be leading the recruitment, and they would be suggesting players, and he would be the coach. So, do you think these two? Do you think they have a lot to push the blame as well?
Possibly. It's difficult, because I think we're going off a very small sample size with the signings. I don't think you could say any of the signings are a sort of failure or success yet. Zedi Gassama definitely looks like a quality player that can offer a lot to Rangers. But the other players have offered that in moments, just not consistently enough. But it's difficult when you've got a squad of players that are consistently underperforming. So I think when Rangers are on a high and the confidence and they understand Russell Martin's style, if we get to that point, then the players will really be judged on that. But yeah, it's difficult to make sort of real judgments on the signings so far, because it is so early in the Rangers' career.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just interested about the music that Rangers will press on Sunday next week, because I think it's massive. Because especially if, and I know you're saying that the 49ers will hold it and see what he does, but I think there's a lot of Rangers fans that were not wanting Russell Martin from the very start, and that can be a bad thing for Russell Martin, because it's okay if, say, Rangers fans wanted someone like David Ancelotti and say he won the first 2 games and things were going well. That's a bit different, but because he's not won a match yet.
Yeah, it is, and there's going to be a lot of pressure, but I think that's just my prediction. I mean, I wouldn't be. No, I'll tell the truth. I would be surprised if he was sacked, regardless of the result on Sunday. I think they'll stick with him. I just strongly believe that, and maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I think they've came to Glasgow with a plan of what they want to do, and Russell Martin's very much at the centre of that. So I don't see them switching up on it too soon, because we are very early in the season. I know we're talking about the league being done, and it might be done, but even if it is done, there's no reason to say that Rangers can't have a positive end to the season without a league title and compete in the 2 cups and have a good run in the Europa League and build confidence going into next season. There's no reason why Rangers can't do that, and possibly Russell Martin's the man, because if you think about it in the way that I'm thinking about now, if the league is gone by after Sunday, then there's nothing to lose in that sense. If you stay with Russell Martin, if you believed in him that he was the right man to take Rangers forward, then sort of swapping him out and putting another manager isn't going to change the course of the season. It's going to change the course of next season. And yeah, I would just give Russell Martin his time, I think, and I think they both will. And I know for Rangers fans possibly watching, it's difficult for them to see that, because there has been little to no progress in performance levels. But we are still very early, and I think if we've still got the same problem, possibly 10 games down the line, another 10 games, we're looking at it, and we're still not seeing a clear style from Rangers. They're still struggling to pick up results. They're still struggling to even make the upper echelon of the Scottish Premiership. Then I think we'll see the end of Russell Martin, but it is still very early, I think, and I think they'll stick with him for the meantime.
Stevie boy, thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe to the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube. Thank you for watching, mate. Great to have you aboard. I just wanted to talk about 2 of the chances that we've seen. Obviously, St Mirren scored a very good first half goal to make it 1-0.
Yeah, it was a good finish from John Ayunga, as I said. Poor from Emmanuel Fernandez. I think he's got to do better. He's got to stay tighter to his man. But no, a good goal and a good start for St Mirren in the game.
Yeah, and obviously St Mirren, okay, it went to 1-0, but St Mirren stayed in the game, even and they did pretty well.
Yeah, they did. They kept in front, and they should have maybe added to the lead, and that'll be the thing that will annoy Stephen Robinson, that they had sort of slight, maybe half chances you could call them, when they were 1-0 up, to double that lead and really take the game away from Rangers, and they didn't. And then Rangers get that goal, and they're sort of holding on towards the end. And I think he said in his post-match interview, that it shows how far St Mirren have came, that they're disappointed getting a point against Rangers, and he's completely right. And yeah, they've started the season really well, with obviously the massive cup win over Hearts, and then the 2 sort of positive performances. They probably would have hoped to beat Motherwell at home, but and they were good at Celtic Park as well. So yeah, positive start for St Mirren, very negative start for Rangers.
I was hoping that Robbie would join us, because I'm a big St Mirren supporter, and I like to see St Mirren doing well. I was hoping that Robbie would join us to talk more about St Mirren, but obviously he's busy at the moment. But I'm just interested to get your thoughts on, because I thought Gogic probably should have won the game for St Mirren really on full time.
Yeah, it was a good header. I think he done well, to be fair. I think it's a good save from Jack Butland. He probably a good save that he should make. But yeah, Gogic was free all afternoon, really, and they just didn't really deal with him on set pieces. He had another chance where he kind of sliced wide. I see Graham asking, "Do I think St Mirren will finish in the top? Do we think St Mirren will finish in the top 6?" And yeah, I do. I think they're just a really good team. They're really well set up. and Stephen Robinson knows what to do to get them into the top 6. I have full confidence that they'll be there again.
I mean, I think St Mirren I think they're destined to be top 6 because they're so well organised, Graham. They've got 2 good strikers. They've got Goldgage, they've got Phillips, they've got a very good goalkeeper in George as well. I mean, that save that he made from the new guy from Luton, what a save.
Yeah, brilliant. And he made a ridiculous save at Celtic Park on the opening day as well. Yeah, he's looked really good so far, and all the new signings have kind of just fit like a glove and just came into the Stephen Robinson setup and really looked good. And yeah, everything's rosy at St Mirren at the minute. They probably like to have more points. They're a bit the same as Motherwell. I think they would like to have more points, and possibly the performances should have them more points, but eventually, I think I always say it, performances will catch up to your points, and if you're performing well, you'll eventually get the points you deserve.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm just interested to get your thoughts on St Mirren overall. Who really stood out for you today?
I think Gogic was really good. He was just such a threat, more in the opposition box rather than his own box. He did make one error that led to a sort of yellow card when he was running about like a fly trying to get the ball back. But yeah, he was one. Shamal George obviously made that really good save, but Mandron and Ayunga, just so much pressure on that Rangers backline and just really sort of nasty players to play against. And yeah, but the whole St Mirren team really solid, and yeah, I think they can go far this season in the league and challenge for those European spots again.
Yeah, and obviously my favourite game yesterday was the Hearts match against Motherwell. I was so impressed with Hearts, and obviously Motherwell at the start of the season. I mean, Hearts went away to Dundee United the week prior, and they were 2-1 down, and then Stuart Finlay, 2 headers, 2 goals. They were very unfortunate, Hearts, to go out with the Premier Sports trophy last week against St Mirren, we just spoke about. But I think it just shows you the real strength and depth of Scottish football this season.
Yeah, exactly that. And there's no easy games in the Scottish Premiership, I would argue, and I think this was a brilliant game of the season so far, probably. Just brilliant. That in Motherwell, I think a lot of their fans sort of a little bit annoyed at the manager, because I've seen a lot of them pointing out the fact that when they were 3-0 up, I think it's Callum Slattery that comes off with an injury at 70 minutes, and he chooses to bring on an attacking player rather than Andy Halliday, who's obviously a sort of more defensive-minded midfielder. As Graham's joined to give his perspective on the match.
Yeah, Graham, thank you for joining us.
No worry, boys. I'm just heading to the shop, so I thought I'll just pop on while I'm on the way.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to get your thoughts on the match. The match at Time Castle yesterday, Graham. What did you make it?
To be honest, for 65 minutes, I thought Hearts were dreadful. I thought we let Motherwell dictate the game. I thought Motherwell, I have to say, were fantastic. I thought Elias Just was the best player in the park. We couldn't get near them. We didn't press well enough. I thought our tempo was really poor. And the 3 goals we lost were just really poor defensively. And I thought when we went 3-0 down, I thought that's it. I think I've seen a lot of folk leaving the stadium, which I can understand. I think once we got the first goal back from Harry Milne, you get that little bit more positivity. But the game changed me in the second goal that Braga scores. You could see that the complete change in teams. Hearts started to get a bit more positive. Motherwell started to retreat a bit more. And you could sense when we got the equaliser, it looked like we were going to win the game, and we could have done. I thought Braga made a massive difference, of course, with the 2 goals. Benny coming on really helped control that midfield. But for 65 minutes, we were absolutely outplayed. I mean, Motherwell will be going away thinking, how have we not won that game? But I'm delighted with the point. You know, it's been a decent start to the season, 7 points out of 9. Could have been better, obviously, yesterday, but I'm delighted with the point, and I think it shows the change of mentality, because I don't think that happened last season. If we go 3-0 down last season, we ain't coming back. So there's a different change of mentality, but I think Derek McInnes spoke about it yesterday after the game, kind of tongue-in-cheek. He was asked about the starting 11, he said, I maybe just need to start playing my best players. Yeah, I think he does, but I don't think he knows what his best team is yet.
Yeah, and obviously Motherwell got off to a very good start, Graham. What do you make of Motherwell so far?
I've been impressed with them. You know, a new manager coming in from a different country, it can take time to get your team together and get a system you want. Playing it for the back, dangerous. And I think there's going to be times they're going to get caught. But it's brave the way they want to play. I thought they were brilliant yesterday for the first 60 minutes. Like, they were really good passing it from the back. I thought they were very comfortable on the ball. You can see the way they want to play. I thought they were, apart from Celtic and Rangers, that's probably the best 60 minutes I've seen from our opposing team at Tynecastle for a long, long time. I thought they were fantastic. And as I mentioned, Elias Just. I didn't know much about him before. I know who he is now. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. So I think Motherwell's going to have a very good season. Obviously, defensive maybe not great for the 3 goals they lost, but they look a very, very good football team.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan, I don't know if you've got any questions for Graham.
Yeah, I was just gonna say about your point on that Derek McInnes doesn't know his best starting 11. Do you think that's sort of? I think we talked about Russell Martin not knowing his best starting 11, and that's certainly in a negative sense. But would you say that Derek McInnes doesn't know his best starting 11 in a sort of positive sense?
Yeah, I think so. And I think if you ask most Hearts fans what our best 11 is, I think we'd struggle to tell you what it is. There's a few players that I think should start. Braga should be starting. Kizaridis should be starting. Ben should be starting. I think there's going to come a time in the next couple of weeks. I think we will get better, and I think we will see our best 11. The one thing I will say, and I'm probably going to get controversial for this, for me next week against Livingston, I wouldn't start Lawrence Shankland. I think he's been very poor the last couple of games. He's not offering enough. I don't think it's all on him. He's not going to have a lot of chances. But I think we need to start playing players in the best position. Like last week, we had Ocean McIntyre playing right back. He's not a right back, he's a midfielder. Yesterday, we had Kabori, who I've seen getting criticised on social media, playing out wide. He's a striker. We need to start playing players in the best position. And if you do that, we've got a better opportunity. But I just think right now we've got such a big squad. We've got a squad of about 30 players. You need to get rid of half of that squad. But I think in the next couple of weeks when that window shuts, I think we will see a far better Hearts side, a far better balance, and I think we'll have a decent season this season.
I was just going to ask you still looking to bring in 1 or 2 players?
I believe we're looking for a goalkeeper because Ryan Fulton is out for months. I don't know what it is. We're asking players getting injured for months. Craig Gordon's still out. We had Liam McFarlane on the bench yesterday, a young goalkeeper who's apparently very good. But we need to send a goalkeeper, and I think we need to sort the right-back position. Adam Forrester came back from St Johnstone with this whole cooperation thing, and he's not played yet. Now, if you're not going to play him, you need to bring somebody else in. So I think we need to send a right-back. But the main thing for me is we have to get rid of some of that squad. Guys like Musa Drame, Alan Forrest, who I thought was terrible yesterday. Guys that just won't play. We need to trim that squad. I think you want, ideally, a squad of 24, 25. Right now it's about 32. So we have to trim that squad. So there's players we have to go. But we have to send a goalkeeper. And as I said, if you're not going to play Forrester, you have to bring a right back in. We've got no balance on that right-hand side at all.
Do you think that's... Sorry, Graham, I was just going to touch on Lawrence Shankland. Do you think that's obviously a big change from last season, that you went into the season with no real other option but Lawrence Shankland, but now you've obviously got Cabango there, Wilson and Braga that can obviously play up front and are all capable options in that position?
Yeah, it's great to have options because for the last 3 seasons we've relied on Shankland far too much. We're not now. So I think we now can, I know he's the captain and stuff, but if you're not playing well, you shouldn't play. So I think now we actually can say, right, Shankland can drop out, we can bring other players in. And I think, I mean, you've all seen it. Claudio Braga so far has been absolutely fantastic. He's got something about him. Kabori is a striker. Wilson, he struggled yesterday, but I don't really blame him. And obviously Cabango signed that 3-year deal. He's not really played a lot of football. So we do have options now that if Shanklin's not playing well or if somebody else isn't playing well, you can bring them in. We didn't have that last season. But I think the one thing I would say is that when McInnes came in, he spoke about playing with width and pace. I've not really seen that yet early in the season. I think we will get better, as I said, but we've not really seen a style of play yet. So I think that will improve over the next few weeks. But I think for me, next week against Livingston, for me, I wouldn't play Lawrence Shanklin. He's been miles off the last 2 games.
Yeah, I'm not too sure I agree with this comment, but I'll bring it up anyway. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but it's just interesting. Yeah, Graham, I'm just interested to see about Tony Bloom. What are you making of what he's been saying?
I have no issue with it. I've seen a few folk laughing at it, but I think you've got to have that ambition, or else what's the point in being here? Do I think we can split Celtic and Rangers? Certainly not this season. But he was talking about over the next 10 years. I don't think that's a bad thing. Why would you not want to be ambitious? You know, he spoke about the fact for far too long Celtic and Rangers have dominated Scottish football. He wants to come in and change that, and if anybody can, it's him. Look at what he's done at Brighton and USG. He can change it completely. But I have no issue with what he said. I thought his media conference was fantastic. Came across very, very well. It's going to take time. Like, I've no doubt it's going to take time. But I've got no problem with what he said. I think it's great. I think it's revolutionary. I think it's ambitious. And I think if other folk are laughing at that, why? It's ambitious. I think you've got to be ambitious or there's no point in playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Derek, a very ambitious manager here. Obviously, I think you'd be disappointed in terms of going out to St Mirren last week because that could have been a potential trophy that you could have definitely won.
Yeah, mate. I mean, listen, I've followed Hearts for a lot of years and I've never seen us win the League Cup, so it wasn't a massive shock we got knocked out last week. But I think performance-wise, we weren't great. I thought we were pretty poor on the ball. We didn't create enough. That was a big issue I think we had. Penalties is a lottery. Sadly, it was Braga that missed the only one. But I think I'm just destined that we see Hearts win the League Cup. It's 64 years and counting. I'm destined that we see us winning it. But we have to start picking ourselves up. And I was hoping for a reaction yesterday. We didn't get it in the first 60 minutes. The last 25 we did. But I look at this stage last season. We had 1 point out of 9 last season at the start. We've got 7 out of 9 so far. We've got Livingston next week. We win that. We've got 10 points out of 12, which is a far better start than it could have been. So I think there's a lot to be positive about. I think we've got to look forward.
And then after that game, you play Rangers game, which you'll be looking forward to.
Thing is, as bad as Rangers are, we've not beat them since 2020. This is the time to do it. If we're going to do it, it's got to be this season because they look miles off it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. International break, I think, will help us a bit more time in training. But you've got to look forward to these games again, or there's no point in playing them. I think it's a massive opportunity to beat Rangers, who look very vulnerable. Question is whether Russel Martin will still be there or not when we play them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, Graham. But I just feel like in terms of Hearts this season, I think possibly they could push for second. Wouldn't you get that?
Mate, see if we finish second, I would be absolutely buzzing with that. But you can't draw 3-3 up with Motherwell and think you're going to finish second. We're a long, long way off that just now. No matter how bad Rangers are, we have to be consistent. We've got to win games and win them well. So I think any talk of finishing second amongst Hearts fans, I get it. I like the positivity. But like I said, you can't be drawing 3-3, being 3-0 down to Motherwell and think you're going to finish second. I think we're a long, long way off that yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. He's saying, can you imagine the speeches that Russell Martin's doing at half time? I bet the speeches are actually not too bad, but it's what he's actually saying to the media that's really winning for me. I think what we need to speak about is Motherwell. I mean, I've been really impressed by Motherwell.
Yeah, I haven't. The only game I got to see them actually in was against St Mirren, which was probably the worst example I've seen them so far. But no, they look really good, and I can't wait to see them play in a full 90 minutes. I can't wait to see them play against Celtic, because obviously I think you see that as the real sort of benchmark of trying to play in a real attractive style, as Jens Berfalascu is trying to play. And I believe that he'll play against Celtic the same way he has done for all the other teams, and it'll be really entertaining to see how that fares. But no, Motherwell have looked really good. Their signings have been brilliant. Eliza Just, as Graham touched on. In the midfield, you've obviously got Lucas Fadingar and Elliot Watt, who have looked really good as well. So yeah, Motherwell look really good, and their fans will be loving it at the moment. Although they've picked up 3 points from 3, which you look at it on the face of it, maybe isn't the best, but the performances have been there. And as I said, I think the points will come, and the performances are there. The points will eventually come, and they'll be really disappointed coming away from Tynecastle with just a point, leading 3-0 on the hour mark. But I think they would have taken that going into the game. So that's the kind of thing you need to weigh up. But yeah, really positive for Motherwell at the moment, and a lot of their fans will be thinking about getting the passports out this early, because they are looking really good.
Thank you to Robbie, who's now joined us. I know he was at the match earlier, so it'd be wrong of me to not talk about St Mirren against Rangers for the next 10 minutes, because I know we need to go, because so some things are happening. But Robbie, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
I'm doing well. Talk us through that match.
It's no often you come away from a game against Rangers extremely disappointing not to get 3 points. You never set out. I think Robinson's always honest, play for at least a point. We're massive underdogs and all that sort of stuff that was getting flung around before the game, and I thought we controlled the game brilliantly. I thought we were dominant on top of Rangers. I thought the additions of Mandron and Mayunga up top worked really, really well. I thought, I was a bit confused when the Rangers lineup came out and I'd seen that there was no striker. That sort of made me feel more confident. And certainly showed in the game. I don't think Asgard done much in the first half, but look, I thought we just got really unlucky not to get away with a win. So many chances that on another day maybe go your way and we maybe take them, but obviously the news that's been happening after the game's not been any positives on us. That's the one thing I hate, that we put in such a good performance and we don't get the praise. All the news has obviously been about Russel Martin and his post-match press conference, which was very, very interesting when I heard it.
Yeah, I mean, I said to Ethan, I don't know if you're listening or watching, but I said that St Mirren probably should have won the game as well through Gogic.
Aye, it was a really good chance. I didn't see it very well from where I was sitting in the actual stadium, but when I watched it back, anywhere but in the middle, and it probably gets in, I don't think Burton's getting to it. We had a few chances. There was one, Mandron, I think, was in the right-hand side of the goal, and I think it was Suter puts in a really good tackle. It stopped it inevitably getting in. At that point, there's a few chances that were taken, but I just thought, again, Rangers looked really flat. I was more impressed, I don't know about you guys, with Emmanuel Fernandez, and I have been with the Jiga the last couple of weeks. I thought he looked a lot more composed, but Suter at the back, just every time someone was going on him, he just looked so nervous. Mooney in the second half gave him a lot of trouble as well, so there's still a lot Rangers need to work on. It wasn't, I don't know how much it showed on the TV coverage, but the fans at the end were not happy with Russell Martin in the slightest.
Robbie, I said to you for about 45 minutes ago that I feel like Rangers would have been better served just sticking with Barry Ferguson, Billy Dodds and Neil if this was going to be the case, because I just feel like Russell Martin's is see whatever his football style is, it's clearly not working.
You're watching guys like Nico Raskin get so frustrated in the game. And there was multiple times I looked at him and they just had his head in his hands, and then obviously you get the stuff with Davo and Igaman not coming onto the pitch, and it just seems like whatever Russell Martin's selling right now to Rangers fans and Rangers players, it just doesn't seem to be working. It doesn't seem to have a positive effect on them, and I really fear for them early next week. Martin was speaking after the game saying things can still get better. For me, it might only get worse.
Robbie, obviously we're only due to be on for another 5 minutes, so is there anything you want to talk about the match in general?
No, I'm just really full of praise for our players again. We stepped up to the task. I thought there was probably a few guys that I was quite disappointed with Bacchus. I thought was really disappointing on the face of the game. But you need to give credit to every player that played in the game, because it's no easy to make Rangers look weak. And I thought we did. I thought, especially in the first half, I thought that was about as weak as you're going to probably see Rangers, to be honest. I thought we controlled them with a lot of intensity. We were trying to get the ball direct through the back line where the problems clearly are at Rangers, and we've done that. And in another day, as I said, it's probably 2 or 3 up at half time, and it's probably a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, I've got one more point for you, Robbie, in terms of, I think there's a lot of credit for St Mirren in terms of, I think all the pundits, all people like us as well, were saying that St Mirren has a genuine chance, and I think, see, years going by, people go, oh, the Rangers might win this game pretty easily, but that just shows you that people are taking St Mirren very seriously. I quite enjoy it, Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't give Chris Sutton too much praise very often, but he was making some very good points after the game that you can't just look at St Mirren as a team that you should be taking 3 points as. We are that team now, but in my opinion, we're a top 6 club. Been in there the last few years. I think we can now call ourselves that. And we've got a team that can. I think sky's honestly the limit. I think we can push even further this season, hopefully. We controlled the game against Rangers. That's what I love so much about it. It wasn't just sitting off and hitting on the counter attack. And I know you can look at stats and they might go in Rangers' favour, but if you look at the actual game, we controlled Rangers. That's something that a top 6 club should be doing, and we've done it really well.
Yeah, and obviously yesterday, Celtic 3-0 win. Told us about that.
Yeah, really good bounce back from Celtic. I seen the starting 11. I think a lot of people were nervous. 8 changes, a lot of sort of fringe players coming in. I still believed that Celtic would win the game pretty comfortably. I listened to David Martindale's thoughts after the game, and I think I heard someone say it before the game. Despite Celtic making 8 changes, he'll make the point that he would take every player in that starting 11, and he actually said that after the game and his post-match and he would. That's fair of him to say that Celtic's second string team should be able to beat Livingston comfortably, and there's no getting away from that, and they did. And there was a few Celtic players in that starting 11s that done themselves no harm. Dane Murray put in another solid performance after getting his contract and scoring against Falkirk last week. Hayato Inamura looked pretty good. I think there was a little bit of overreaction from Celtic fans saying that, oh, he's good enough to be the backup left back and whatever. But I think we knew he was very good on the ball, and we've seen that again when Celtic have 80+% possession, and he did look very good on it. But Brendan Rodgers has said that he's not good enough defensively to be in the Champions League squad, and if I was the majority of Celtic fans, I would trust his judgment on that, because he sees him every day, and obviously he didn't have to do much defending, but he is still capable enough to come in the Premiership and play, and yeah, he looked good as well.
And just to touch on Robbie finally, Dundee and Command done a 0-0 draw, Robbie.
Aye, I'm interested to see the highlights. I've not heard much for how the game went, to be honest. I had a wee bit. I think Marcus Stacker's done all right. But a draw that you could probably expect. If I could just say one thing, by the way, on the St Mirren Rangers game, the Rangers perspective. I mean, first of all, Jamal George probably save of the season in the game. But on Russel Martin, I feel like I hold a very strong opinion that, in my opinion, he should be sacked tonight. I don't know if many people agree, and I don't know if many Rangers fans agree. But if the board want to show any sign of progress, I would seriously sack him tonight. I don't think he will. I don't think that's how to play it. I think he'll be in charge for the next 2. But the way I look at it is, if you keep him in charge, Rangers don't have any chance in the next 2 games.
I mean, I want to get your thoughts, because I said the same. I mean, I said that I think if Rangers get beat next week, I think he could be the door.
Yeah, I sort of hear what you guys are saying, but I think Rangers have done this too many times, sacking managers, and I think they've got to stay with Martin for the course. And although it doesn't look good now, and it probably won't look good for weeks down the line, I think something's got to change at Rangers. There's got to be, when you keep chopping and changing managers and it keeps being unsuccessful, it tells me that the manager is maybe not the root of the problem, and maybe there's something in that squad that's not working, or something in the club, like Russell Martin says, the mentality's not right. I think Russell Martin should be given his chance to sort of a few more games, and I know a lot of Rangers fans and you guys disagree with that, and I think they will stick with him.
It's the players as well, though. I get that point. There's players in there that have been through 3 or 4 managers. That is the root of the problem. There's too many players in there that have just been at the club for too long. But with the way I see it, with the way it's gone, I look at Rangers' next 4 fixtures, and I'm not confident they're going to win any of them. And 2 of them are at Ibrox against Hibs and Hearts, and I honestly don't see a world in which Rangers win the 2 games if Hearts and Hibs show up.
Yeah, that's completely fair to say.
I mean, I totally agree with you, because every team that Rangers play now, that Scottish football's got a lot better. There's no disputing that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's no easy games for Russell Martin, and even the games against, I think it's Falkirk and Livingston next after those 2 games against the Edinburgh clubs, not easy. And yeah, I think it is really difficult to stay by Martin, but I think they will do, and I can see why they are, because I think I touched on this. It's hard to kind of put it across to Rangers fans especially, but if they lose on Sunday, in a league sense, there almost is nothing to lose for the rest of the season, because I really don't see a way back for Rangers. If they are 9 points behind Celtic, I really don't see a way back, and you may as well, I think, at that point, give Russell Martin a few more games, maybe 5 more games. And if you don't see progress, you don't see any sort of signs with this Rangers squad coming to terms with what he's wanting to do, fair enough. But if you get another manager in, then it's just sort of starting the whole process again. And there isn't a lot of managers that Rangers can go to. I think there wasn't a lot to pick from when they were going for the manager to start the season. Russell Martin's obviously where they ended up, and a lot of the fans weren't happy with that to start with. So, yeah, really difficult period for Rangers, but I believe the 49ers will stick with Russell Martin for a few more games yet.
Robbie, just finally, is there anything else you want to touch on in terms of a championship score from yesterday?
Really impressed again with Partick Thistle. Obviously, the big news, Don Cowie getting sacked up. Interesting to see who replaces him. But Matt Wilson, I was really impressed with his squad. For what I heard, they dominated the game. I've not seen the highlights at any of the games, but Rafe as well against Dunfermline on the Friday night game. I thought, I was speaking to a couple of people. I was saying, Dunfermline, they could be challenging at the top end of the table, but they didn't show much, to be honest with you, in the game. So there was a couple of decent results.
Okay, guys, well, thank you for joining me, and I hope everybody enjoyed that. In terms of the show today, there was a lot of people on. That there's over 162 live so far, so please make sure to subscribe to the Scottish Football Zone YouTube channel, and we'll see you again on Friday. We'll see you again on Tuesday after Celtic against Almaty, Robbie.
Aye, well, you'll see us on Monday as well for the potentially the Scotland squad announcement as well. So, we've got a busy week coming up, but everybody, as Reagan already said, please subscribe. Comment your thoughts on the weekend's action. Gives you a result of the week, gives you a player of the week as well, because that'll be interesting to know.
Yeah, I think the only day that it's not got a show next week is possibly Saturday. So, a bit busy for the show next week.
Yeah, I'll just finally then ask you, Robbie, is there anybody you expect to be in the Scotland squad? Is there anybody you don't want to be in it? Because I totally forgot it was on, but you're the man that's in the know, Robbie. Is there anyone that you expect to be in the squad? Anyone you don't want to be in it? Like Grant Hanley?
Well, I think Hanley will be in it, to be honest with you. But Kieran Bowie's just the main one. Just please pick Kieran Bowie. That him up front would just would make me happy. I wouldn't even care about Grant Hanley at that point if I picked up Kieran Bowie into the starting 11.
Or I can maybe say that Grant Hanley can maybe be he can maybe be like like Steve Clark said, the dad, and Grant Hanley's the son. He could be like the decoy to go, right, you need to pick him because I'm in the same squad as him. He could be the decoy. He could be the decoy. He could be the guy.
There'll be a few interesting things to talk about, but obviously Naismith's back in the Scotland setup now, so there'll be a good show Monday to talk about all that.
Do you think we'll see Ben Doken?
Yeah.
I hope so.
If he's fit, then I think if he's fit, then he's in the squad. He's too good to
Obviously,
not be in the squad.
I'll be interested to talk about McTominay as well, who just scored for Napoli in the Serie A game. So, it could look positive for Scotland.
Do you think we'll see Lennon Miller?
Yes.
Aye,
What about Dykes? Because he's back scoring again.
no, please.
No, maybe not.
No one to the
Maybe.
bench, no.
It's going to be controversial, right? I'm going to say I'd rather Lyndon Dykes than Che Adams.
Ooh, that is controversial.
That
That's a
very
fair
controversial.
opinion, though. No sort of
Because-
Scotland strikers covered themselves in glory. So
Because I've got things to back up with here, guys. I just feel like if you look at Lyndon Dykes' contribution, it's way more than what Adams has actually done. Adams has scored a few goals against San Marino, or I think he scored
Gibraltar.
against Gibraltar as well.
I'll tell you an even bigger one. I'll tell you a bigger controversial. I don't want any of them in the Scotland squad, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't think any of them bring enough to the table. I think Che Adams, in my opinion, brings a wee bit more, but no, I'd rather not have any of them, to be honest.
Who
just
would be
Kieran Bowie. That's the only striker we'll select. Leave the
Bowie,
rest.
Bowie and Shankland.
Do you know-
That's
Do you know? I thought Robbie was going to mention McBurney there.
I'll throw in there the heart Mark O'Hara, but
There you go. See, is there anyone you think that they potentially could see a wee surprise?
I don't know the levels of Hickey and Patterson, but I reckon Max Johnson might start again.
Robbie,
Yeah.
what about? I heard that Stephen Robinson saying during the week that Mandaron is eligible for Scotland.
Don't.
Can you maybe see us potentially going there?
Could you imagine that he doesn't pick Adams, Dykes, Bowie and Shankland, but he picks Mikel Mandron through the middle?
Maybe.
No, but I think my pick would probably be Max Johnston. I think that's probably one that we will see get minutes in terms of the qualifying games.
Okay, guys. So, what time is the Scotland squad announcement at Robbie? And what time can we expect? What day can we expect the show to be on tomorrow?
Well, Scotland put the 25th and they never put a time, so I don't know. It'll probably be it'll be announced in the morning before 12, I imagine. So it'll probably be 3-4 o'clock for the live stream.
Okay, and please make sure to subscribe because that's how we bring the best content to you. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 3-4 o'clock when we talk about Scotland.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone.